If you haven't heard already, the IPF has decided to postpone the rule changes for 2026. So let's go over the latest news and how you can get involved. So if you go over to the IPF website and under About IPF under News, you'll find this latest post here. So let's go over it. So it says right here that they are postponing the implementation of the 2026 rulebook to March 1st. So they're holding off for now. They're going to be working on some things which we'll go over and looking into putting into place March 1st. So they're saying the reason for this is that it follows the feedback received from the member nations as well as individual stakeholders and reflects the IPF's commitment to clarity, consistency, all that kind of stuff. So thanks to all of you that went and contacted your member federations and the member federations that went ahead and contacted IPF and kind of explained what the issues were with the implementation of these rules and maybe some lack of clarity and reasoning behind the rules. Then they said, okay, let's pause and let's figure these things out. So for now, okay, until March 1st, we are sticking with the old 2025 rules. While this is happening from now to March 1st, here's going to be kind of the process that's happening between the IPF and the member nations. So one, they're going to review all the correspondence and submissions that they've gotten from the member nations regarding the proposed revisions. So they're going to take in all information and see, if anything is worth listening to and making adjustments to when it comes to the rules. Two, they're going to circulate now a draft version of the 2026 rulebook to all member nations for review and additional feedback no later than January 9th. So pretty quick turnaround. Right now it's January 6th. So hopefully yesterday they sent all this information out to the member nations, and yesterday the member nations started working on it. And so we have a few days to send any additional feedback beyond what was already sent previously. The draft version will be emailed to all member nations and also published on the website. The draft rulebook will identify all the proposed revisions, which you kind of already had everything in red, but also now we're going to include justifications for changes pending approval and will be provided to ensure transparency and informed consultation across the membership. So now hopefully for all those rule changes, I believe there's like 23 changes in total, that we're going to see justification for why they are making that change. Then it says further updates will be communicated following the conclusion of the consultation period, which is January 9th, and any subsequent approvals by the IPF EC. And then it just says thanks to the member nations for their continued engagement and constructive input. So we're going back to the 2025 rules for now for things like Powerlifting America Bench Press Nationals and Sheffield that's coming up. And then in these next few days, the IPF is going to collect as much information as they can as far as feedback and also provide the justifications for any changes. Now, what changes are they going to make to the rule set that we saw? Not sure if there's going to be any changes at all, but it's possible that from all those changes, maybe some of them will get removed. Maybe some of them will be reworded so it's more clear, or maybe different diagrams added so that it's more clear. And then some rules may be just kind of left as is and no changes made. But now what can you do as a member? So as you saw that members started communicating with their member nation, and member nations communicated with the IPF in order to get to the point that we're at now. So if you want to get involved, you can always go to your member nation and look at the information or to contact them. So for example, for me, I'm part of Powerlifting America. If you come to the Powerlifting America website, you go to the About section and then the Administration section, you can see all the different people in the administration and all their emails. What I would suggest is that you focus on the athlete chairs here. So their emails are here on the website. If you want to include the secretary, just to have the secretary in on the information as well, you can. But I would say to not bother everyone on this list with all your complaints. Instead, contact the athlete chairs. In addition, if maybe you and a number of friends, or you're a coach and you have a number of athletes, all kind of have the same ideas as far as what you want to see implemented, what you want to see change, those kind of things, is to consolidate it into one document. So don't send like a dozen emails to these people and kind of just complain about everything. Consolidate everything from everyone in your group into one document, pinpointing each rule change that you think should be removed or it should be reworded and the reasoning for it, and then send that information just one time to the athlete rep so then they can share that information with the board members, and then the board members can decide whether they agree with it, whether they don't, and kind of put one document in these next couple of days, hopefully, to send one document as far as feedback to the IPF. In addition, if you want to contact additional people, or maybe you don't want to go to your member nation, maybe you want to go directly to the IPF because we're short on time or anything like that, or your member nation maybe isn't as active, is you can then go to the IPF website, and under Federation and under commissions, then you can see all the different commissions involved. So just like we have athlete reps for Powerlifting America, there's also an athletes commission here for the IPF. So you can go to the athletes commission page, you can see who all the members are, as well as the speaker, and also just a generic email here. So for example, instead of, again, bothering everyone, maybe you just email this email right here that goes maybe to their main account and they can all look at. And again, just focus on one document rather than having 20 plus people bother them. If you feel like, hey, I'm not an athlete, I'm a coach or I'm a referee or whatever, then you can look at the other commissions as well. So for example, we can take a look at the coach commission if you're just a coach, and we can take a look at the technical commission if you're just a referee. So for example, under the coach commission, again, you have the chairman and also you have like a generic email here. So you could email that generic account and say, hey, listen, as a coach, these are the things I think should be changed for the athletes, or these are the things I'm confused about as far as how to coach. Or if you are a referee, then again, you have the chairman here and the other members, but again, maybe focusing on just emailing the chairman and again, explaining like, hey, listen, I'm a referee, and from a referee standpoint, I'm confused as far as how I'm supposed to judge this. Should it be a red light? Should it be a disqualification? Should it be a warning? What does it mean when it comes to upper body thrust? Those kind of things. So I would focus on that. Again, try and create maybe one document of you and all your group as far as what you want to see, and send that to the appropriate commission. Next thing we can do is quickly just go over all the rule changes and kind of get an idea of maybe what could we see being changed going forward or clarified. So here, when we go to the squat, as far as the no lower than the posterior deltoid, I don't think that's going to be removed. I think the IPF wants to keep that around to get rid of the super low bar that maybe ends up the bar dumping off the person's back, or maybe just being too leaned over. So maybe they can clarify the wording, or maybe just have more examples of what's allowed or not allowed, but I don't think they'll change. Same thing with the thumbs around. We got clarity that the thumb doesn't have to be wrapped around like the bench press. You can have the thumb over, but the thumb has to be in contact with the bar. You can't have the thumb hanging off the bar. So I think maybe there could just be some clarifying of the wording there, and maybe some examples put in there of what's allowed and not allowed, but I think that stays. As far as walking out through the front of the rack, I think still that's a little bit silly. I don't think it's necessarily a safety issue. I think, you get in the way of the spotters regardless of which direction you're going, and also just depends on the overall setup, how much space there is around the platform. So I don't know if they're going to remove that or not. I hope they remove it, but I don't think maybe it's going to be a main point of concern for a lot of people when there are all these other rule changes. And as far as allowing the personal assistance for knee sleeves, I don't think anyone's really complaining about that. So I think they're going to leave that as is. For bench, that's one of the big things, is the upper body thrust. I'm sure some people are going to want to try and get rid of it. And then if they can't get rid of it, is maybe just trying to clarify, what does the upper body thrust mean? Is it only going to be focused on when someone's trying to beat elbow depth, if you're like close on elbow depth, but if you're like a super heavyweight lifter that hits the elbow depth easily, are they going to call it or are they not going to call it? Those kind of things, as well as maybe having some more examples of what's allowed and what's not allowed, to try and know how much movement in the torso is going to be fine, and at what point does it become a red light, or is any movement in the torso at all going to end up being a red light. No issues with the thumbs around grip. I think that's going to be fine. And I don't think anyone really has an issue with coming in from the head side. So I don't think anything's going to change there. For the deadlift, I think there may be going to be some more clarification here, is that they're showing this deflection angle, but that's kind of more than you need. If you just need the minimum amount, they should have a diagram that shows the minimum amount. Can point A be directly above point B, or is that considered a no lift? If that's considered no lift, can we get point A 1 millimeter behind point B and be a good lift? Versus showing this kind of big angle and kind of like this example here where maybe people are going to exaggerate how far they lean back to get A behind B. So if we need just a minimum amount, is let's get a diagram of maybe an imaginary person, but also an actual person showing minimum amount, just like for depth, trying to show the minimum amount hit depth is here. Let's see the minimum amount as far as the front delt, and also clearing up the wording here. You know how they put the front bundle of the deltoid and also some other things in there is worded weird or improper as far as shoulder abduction. Is let's maybe get it cleared up to where we're just saying the anterior deltoid needs to be completely behind the barbell, something like that, to kind of clarify things. As far as wearing socks over the long full length singlet, no issues there. As far as stepping over the bar, I think again some people are going to try and get this rule removed, but I'm not sure if it's going to be removed. If it's not going to, then there should be some clarity in the rule book regarding what's going to happen if a lifter steps over the bar. Do the referees wait until the lifter steps away from the platform and goes back to the staging area before they give the white lights, which will slow down the competition? Or do they give the white lights, and if someone steps over, do they just get a warning? And then if they keep doing it, they get disqualified. What's going to happen there? For general rules, I think the necklace being placed in the mouth is not going to change. I think the IPF doesn't want to change that. They maybe see it as a safety issue if the person bites on it, swallows it, whatever. So I think that's not going to be changed. But maybe the change is being out over the shirt versus under the shirt. Maybe we can get that change. Like, who cares if the chain is over the shirt, if it's not contacting the bar at all, it's not contacting the bench, the lifter not putting it in their mouth, it's not causing any kind of safety issues. It allows lifters to kind of demonstrate their personality a little bit. And also certain chains, like actually like this one here, if it's tight enough or high enough, then it can't even go under the t-shirt. So then what are you going to do in that situation? I don't think anyone's going to complain about the minimum clothing, and no one I think is going to complain about the shoes being fastened. So I don't think anything's going to change there. As far as the hair being fixed to cover, I don't think anyone's going to really complain too much about that. Yes, some referees can then use it to kind of be annoying and stuff like that. But also if you're using your hair to cover your hip crease so we can't see squat depth, or covering your shoulders so we can't see elbow depth, then obviously you're gaining an unfair advantage over other lifters. So I can see that kind of staying in, and maybe again just adding in specific examples of what's allowed and what's not allowed. As far as expected to enter and exit the lifting area in a respectful manner and refraining from discarding their belt on the floor. Maybe, again, this could be worded more clearly as far as what the punishment is going to be. Will it be a no lift by the referees? Will it be overturned by the jury if there's 3 white lights? Do you get a warning? Do you get kicked out of the competition? What's the punishment for being disrespectful? In addition, the rulebook already has a rule as far as misconduct by a lifter or a coach on or around the platform that can lead to the jury kicking someone out. So there was already a rule in place. So why are we adding more rules to kind of be redundant and confusing to people? So maybe they just need to stick with the rule that's already there and maybe just add on to it or clarify what they want. As far as discarding the belt, I wish they would just clarify it as far as like maybe not throwing the belt or not hitting anyone with the belt or damaging the competition with the belt. But if you just take your belt off and you drop it on the floor, then is that really a big deal? And also, I think people were blowing this out of proportion a little bit, saying you're not allowed to celebrate anymore. And so I don't think that's true. And maybe getting some clarity from the IPF would then ease people's minds that people think that's going to be an issue. Is that, hey, if someone celebrates, if they're cheering or if they're yelling, they're excited or whatever, they're running around, they're shaking the referee's hands or whatever, they're hugging their coach, that's all fine. But if they are like cursing or hitting someone or throwing their belt across the room, then those are considered disrespectful and not allowed, which again already goes under the rule under misconduct. So we don't necessarily need to add another rule in a different area. We can maybe just clarify that rule that's already there and actually enforce it properly. So those are all the major changes, and those are what I think maybe could be removed or worded differently or added diagrams to add some clarity. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll keep you guys updated on any changes that come in the coming months.